Okay, I decided to go ahead and pull my callaloo and replace them with some new incoming callaloo and spinach. And just so you can see the plug that this pulled out of the whole raised bed. So like the whole center third of the bed is gone there. In fact, this plug of red lettuce came up as well, but I'll fix that in a minute. Pull this whole damn thing. Oh man. And this lettuce is going to flourish. I'm telling you right now, this lettuce is going to flourish once I pull this thing up. Gotta ground myself. Oh, this is not as moist and it's deeper. Oh yeah, that's going up to the front. Yeah. And then I just cut it off right here to clean and harvest the leaves, of course. Right there. To give me a clean branch to put there with the other to harvest. Take that too, because I want it. I want to eat that as well. Okay, so I need to pull up all this condensed root. That's fine, because we're gonna refill that with soil and get us some spinach planted for the fall. Oh, it looks bare now. All right, just wanted to show you that very quickly. Okay, let's zoom in on this ancestral wisdom before that's right, herb planter. The one I'm coming up with myself for indoors. So I can relieve myself of jealousy of you guys who have the perfect windowsill to grow your herbs. Maybe like some of you say you're jealous of my garden. So, this is something else I wanted to show you too anyway. In fact, I want to show you this first. So this thing, I'm learning that one of the reasons why this thing is going whack is not due to powdery mildew, mind you, but the leaves just start, it's almost like it knows its season is almost up. So, and there are some other things, but yeah, it's pretty sad. Now it's trying to squeeze a few more out for me. It's doing its best to squeeze a few more out for me, but I have to keep it watered for that to happen. And another thing that choked this plant, and I mean this plant singular, because that's one damn plant. Another thing that choked it out was its inability. I call myself letting it climb up to the top of this trellis thing that I have and then bringing it back down manually. That didn't work out too well. It wanted to keep it. Once it gets to the top, it wants to reach into the netting. There's netting that you can't see. Here, I go here. There's netting on these evergreens, right? So it really wanted to go through the trellis and climb on the netting. Now, I did a good job of catching it and bringing it inside and having it weave through the front of the trellis again. But eventually, I started feeling like it was telling me, well, I can't do what I need to do without reaching out. Because I was thinking, well, maybe it's the soil. Maybe this one plant filled up the soil, but at one point I had 8 of these in here. 8 of this one plant in this little, well, it's not little, in this one raised bed. And then, you can kind of see little white nodules of root-ish situation going on. You might be able to see that better. So I was like, maybe it's not getting enough food because it filled up so much that the roots are coming to the surface now. And so maybe I have to keep it watered. But the reality is I have to keep it watered anyway, because things like, I can't say it enough, things like cucumbers and melons, things that are made of mostly of water, are going to need, you can't give them too much water. because they're water fruits. Duh. So I thought it was a soil. So you can't see where I actually put another pile of soil around the base of the main stem. And I'll tell you why I did that later. So, but part of it is to cover the cover these roots that I see trying to be exposed on the top. Maybe that would help feed them. So I amended the soil at the base of the main stem, of the main trunk. And then I saw it, see how down here there's nothing for it to reach and grab onto? I think I'm pretty convinced that it's suffering because of that. It wants to reach and climb and crawl. And the best thing I actually did for it was to weave it back up, because these now are hanging. That's where you saw these two. See? So now these have something to hang and grab onto and continue to reach. Look, another one. Another one. This one. Have something to reach and hang on to. And I guess whatever work needs to happen within the vines are able to do so. And I noticed that, and the thing that really drew attention to it was this. You know, this kept reaching. I kept folding it over. It kept reaching. I kept folding it over. It kept reaching. But when all the leaves started to go yellow, I said, well, let me let it reach to see what it's going to do. Because my thought was it'll just reach and it'll climb across the netting, right? No, it went through that bitch and proceeded to produce, which tells me, see, there's one right, oh, there it is. See, it went through the netting and started producing fruit. So that, I wouldn't be able to get that cucumber out of there. You know, I wouldn't be able to get it out. I see some over there. Same thing is happening across the back. So you know where I'm looking. Here's the front. Ooh, here's the front, and I'm in the back where I tried to prevent it from climbing. But so back all the way back there. See that? There's a cucumber, and then these little ones. There's a cucumber there, and then it's gone through this netting and produced two more. But I know that, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to let it get in there. I know that once it grabs onto something that thin and sturdy, it's going to hold on for dear life. So I already tore 7, and then I realized I should do it on camera. I already tore like 7 tendrils. They are so tight around this netting. And you have to just pretty much break it off. So, and pull that out. And I really hate to do that because these vining plants don't like to be, they don't like when you reassign them direction. They want to be free to go where they, okay, come on. Redirected this way, but it doesn't like that. It wants to go where it was going. It's like I was going where I wanted to be. Why are you all in my business? My bad. See, look, another one, and it's just as healthy as it wants to be. You know why? Because it got to sneak out and go where it wanted to go. Healthy as one. Oh, there it is. All up in the netting. I'm seeing sporadic cucumbers all throughout this thing, but they're only from vines that were allowed to reach out. And so I need to keep that in mind. Aside from powdery mildew, since I have learned how to fight that, aside from that, I would like to find a system. Like I could grow these a number of places, but I need to find a system where, as maybe I'll put the stand in there next, the whole ass stand. Maybe I'll put this whole ass stand in there next year. Then they can climb the stand, and I'll still put my wooden trellis there, but I'll wait until after they start climbing the stand and and they're almost to the top, and then I'll put the stand in the back, and then I'll start leading the vines to the stand and then letting them crawl down and cascading down the front like they are now. I know it doesn't make much sense right now, but it's a plan. Watch and see. Okay, we're gonna try that shit next year. It better work too. I'm gonna be mad. A few more cucumbers. I should pick that one in the back now because it has yellow on the end. It looks like a pear. It looks pear-shaped. Yeah. These are white cucumbers, and when they say that, they mean it. Like, it probably needs to get twice as big as that, and that's it. Just the size of a little pickling cucumber, fit just in the palm of your hand. Let's take the relatives more green tomato, and I'm gonna try some fried green bites at the end of the season. I'm only gonna try it on the cherry tomatoes that don't make it. That don't have time to ripen before a freeze is gonna hit. Again, I'm not sure what happened to the tips of these, but there are some tips on this tomato that I'm just gonna cut off. Does it have any? Yeah, I've got something in there. Yeah, if I don't feel any fruit on the end and it's crispy like this, there's no need to keep that. I do feel fruit in there, so maybe that's why I didn't clip that particular one. Same up here, right? Yeah, there's fruit up there. Okay. Another burgundy okra up close and personal. Someone mentioned, we missed this. Let me just say to you that I don't hear anyone mention this, but I'm sure someone must have said this before. But the lifespan of an okra from flower to okra is approximately 48 hours. From the time when you see a bloomed flower, within 48 hours, it's gonna look like this little green nub. Now this flower fell off already. Okay, let me tell you. Now, if the flower falls off first, it'll start out looking like this little green nub, and then that green nub will start blushing at the base, and the rest of the burgundy color will fill up the okra. Now, in the cases where the flower stays attached, as the okra grows, it will push the flower off the end. Now, about the flower, I've heard someone mention that they think it must be really sweet. They noticed how a bunch of little ant-like creatures are always buzzing around it. Oh, there's one right there. It's a late bloomer. Pun intended. Yeah, so those little things, they congregate around that flower like nobody's business. So I can only imagine that an okra flower is indeed sweet. So the next time, there's another one. A little bigger one. There must be mad nectar at the base of that flower, because that's where they go in at too. And they must smell it from miles away, because they'll just show up when an okra flower blooms. They'll show up out of nowhere. Is there one over here? It's closing up. See, that one was open today. It's closing up. This is an addendum to what I showed you guys that I learned. I walked everyone through how I learned that amending the soil at the base of my greens is what gives bigger leaves. It is not the distance between them. It is how high the soil is amended at the trunk of the main stem. Again, these are ancestral academics. Nothing you'll probably find in a book. Definitely not in American school. But yeah, not so much the distance, because I don't know if you've noticed, like, there have been people who really don't take any care to organize or thin or plant or actually plant things in the location they want them to be. You have people that broadcast, you have people that just let things reseed themselves and do what they do the following year. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that going on where people aren't careful to space their items. And those motherfuckers have some of the biggest fucking lettuce leaves, greens leaves I've ever seen in my life, lettuce included. And I can never figure out what the issue is. Now, this has always happened with my collards. As I harvest them, you know, it starts looking like a palm tree or some shit as it goes up, right? But little did I know that if my theory is right, all I have to do is amend the base of that again with soil, and these leaves will be even bigger than they are now, if my theory is correct. Now, I'm also doing some control testing here where I put this callaloo in. I took out those big trees that were in here, just two, and I replaced them with two smaller plants to harvest from up until winter hits. And I thought I would do a little test. I put a cutting here, and I pulled up the whole root of one here and put it here. I would have assumed that the rooted one would be healthier, but it's not. I mean, it's hot out here, so they both, you know, they're quick to dry out, of course. But the cutting is doing better than the rooted one. Maybe it just takes time, and maybe this one really will wind up being the healthier one. I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah, so you can see these little piles of soil around these lettuce where I have enacted this new information I have stumbled upon in terms of amending the soil at the base of the main trunk or main stem. I'll call it the main stem. At the base of the trunk or main stem, depending on how big your plant is. Another B. Well, I'll show you about controlling these. You'll notice that this one has holes. Yes, girl, they tried it. This one is pretty good because they already tried it on that one, and I took care of that. Well, they tried it on this one, and unfortunately, this is something you might have to do every day, if not every other day. But something very simple and non-toxic. It's not even natural toxic, because a lot of y'all just rattle off trigger terms and think everything is all natural and harmless to your plants. That's a lie. Neem oil included. That's a lie. It's a lie. This ain't me talking. This is the ancestors talking through me while I'm high. It's a lie. Okay? So what I do here is, the advice I'm giving you for these is not applicable in the heat of midsummer, okay? Because you're gonna have to do whatever you need to do, feel like you need to do when it's that hot. I'm gonna just have to let mine get kind of eaten up until it cools off. But you might not have that kind of patience. You might go ahead and get you some 7 or whatever. You might be willing to go ahead and use that. For all you know, 7 might be just as healthy as the shit that they feed y'all and claim it's organic. But anyway, yeah, so what you do is, there's none there now because I already did this. But since when you see all those little holes, you know your shit's being attacked. So you take your water hose and you set it on jet. But you put it on low stream now, or medium stream. Don't put it on screeching hot. You're gonna fuck your plants up if you do that. Matter of fact, test it into the wind. Oops, I don't even have this bitch on. You put it on jet and not on full stream. Test it over here. See, it's not full jet. I mean, you know, it's not coming out as strong as possible. And then you go right for the center. You want all the leaves that seem to be affected, but mainly go right for the center, because these cabbage moths, these hoes love the tender young. They pedophiles. They like supremacy, like Catholic clergy, like clergy in general. They pedophiles. So they're gonna go straight for them young tender leaves that are right in the center, that are starting. And they're gonna try to set up camp. But if you do this, they're not gonna be able to, and your baby's gonna look like this. well protected and clear and whatnot. But anyway, when you see they are being affected on a daily basis, if possible, just take your little jet spray and boom, in spurts, so you don't hurt your plant. Because you just want to get them holes off your leaves. So you literally just spraying them off your leaves. That's my nosy ass neighbor. He heard my voice. He heard me talking to y'all, so he always gotta come outside when he heard me talking. Okay. And that's what you do. In the meantime, I'm gonna come and amend this soil on this plant, and I'm gonna show y'all how much bigger these leaves get. Watch and see. And while I'm at it, I've been able, these are low because I was able to finally harvest some more onions. And in learning all this other stuff and learning that it works the same for onions, which by the way explains why you are instructed on the package to bury onions at least an inch deep. I didn't believe it, so I was like, how is that different from the leaves? I'm just gonna plant them a quarter of an inch from the top. And sure enough, I was able to see them very quickly. Now, when you plant them the inch deep that they're supposed to be planted, of course it's gonna take a little bit longer for them to reach the surface and find the sunlight. So they're not gonna pop up as immediately. But they will be a lot more voluptuous because since I have put this fresh dirt on top and around these onions, honey, I have been able to get fresh, thick onions for my food every day. So again, I'm gonna amend the soil on the trunk of that main stem and get around these sides of these onions. I topped all these off. And you know what I noticed? When I topped these off, it seemed like the fruit got healthier. All these whole nother bunches over here, over there. I think I'm gonna make that a habit with everything except my okra. Because I want them to grow up into nice, big, beautiful red trees. They're so beautiful. Which is why I'm gonna see if I can grow in the house. But yeah, I'm gonna start making it a habit to top my tomatoes off. Now these did well over here, but again, this is good during the pandemic because I can bring my ass out and water every day. And that's what a little planter is gonna need, especially a planter of tomatoes, which are always, I know you guys know, tomatoes are heavy feeders, right? So I was wondering why everything in this planter was suffering. Duh, all the soil was consumed by roots of the peas and onions, and this thing had its same old soil, and it is now benefiting from having fresh soil surrounding it. When I planted the new peas and green onions on the side. And I didn't do that for that reason, but it was a great side effect to get these really healthy all of a sudden. And they're so big and heavy that it allowed me to lean it inward into the deck. So I don't have to worry so much about tomatoes falling off the backside and plants growing like I had growing at the beginning of the season, like are still growing on this other side. Oh, there's one. Still popped up from last season. And then there are a lot on this side. That one's so big, I'm surprised it don't have tomatoes on it. There's another one. That's a microtome. Oh, they're all microtomes. So another one. Once they get big enough, I'm able to pull them forward and cascade them over the inside of the deck for easy harvesting. And then I don't have to worry about falling over the other side and attracting animals. I don't want no parts of that. But ultimately, the depth at which you allow your plants to develop can be everything. Okay, let me amend the soil. And why do I feel like I had something to harvest?